I know it's really frustrating when you have read hours and hours and hours, and when you want to summarize it, it's just a blank page and you don't remember anything. A few days ago, I started reading 48 Laws of Power. I was just like to myself that if I could remember 48 laws, I could be a lawyer. So in today's video, I'm gonna give you some tips on how you can remember what you read. Tip number 1 is to pay full attention to what you are reading. This means to silence your phone or turn it off. Avoid distractions, lock yourself up in a room, make yourself a nice cozy place with a hot chocolate, and just focus on what you are reading. Don't just go to Instagram every 2.5 seconds or text back your friends while you are reading, because you can't focus when you do this type of stuff. You do this kind of stuff and then you want to remember what you've read? Come on. Bro, your brain doesn't work that way. Tip number 2, which I really use and I really like, is taking notes. Whenever I study for a university exam or whenever I just try to learn something from YouTube or for a book, for example in the 48 Laws of Power, I'd be sure to take notes on the subjects and the titles which are really important for me, and I think I should use them and implement them on my life. Notes can be even questions or even sometimes ideas. Your brain tends to forget useless information. This is when taking notes come in handy. Every day you walk down a street, you see a ton of cars, but do you remember all of their colors? Of course not, because for your brain, that is useless information. In order for an information to be in your brain in the long run is to give it a purpose, and asking questions like, why is this like that? Or wouldn't it work if it was the other way? If you ask these type of questions while you are reading, your brain will have a purpose to remember the information. Tip number 3 is to visualize. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I read, there's like this white background in my head and it just paints the pictures for me about the story that the writer is trying to tell me. A good example of this is in the book 48 Laws of Power, where the writer gives you a little bit of story for every rule that he tries to teach you. By this way, you can engage with information a lot more and give it a lot purpose. Your brain tends to remember them in the long run. Tip number 4, which I don't recommend and I totally hate, but it just works for some people perfectly, is repetition. By repeating over and over and over what you read, your brain just gonna catch the information and never let go. I only use these tips when I try to study for my exams in the university, because there is a lot of useless information out there that I just need to memorize for an exam and I just have to know them for some reason. And in general, for the books, I must have really liked a book to read it more than 2 times or 1 time, but everybody's learning style and remembering style is different. If you think that you are a lot more comfortable by repetition, by repeating over and over again, have full attention while you are reading and just, like gym, get in the reps. Tip number 5 is to understand the material that you are reading. For example, you want to learn a new language, let's say German. The word plate in German, I think it's Gesicht or something like that. And you tend to forget this word a lot. That's because your brain doesn't have a purpose to save that material in it. But if you try to visualize yourself and just connect with the material, like for example, imagine yourself you're in a restaurant in Germany, the waiter brings you a broken plate. You want to tell him that, hey, my plate is broken. So the word plate in German is Gericht. You always don't have to just memorize stuff. As I've told you, that you need to give them purpose to stay in your brain. Tip number 6, which I have really used in reading 48 Laws of Power, is to connect the material and the context to your own experience. When the writer is giving me tips and explaining to me the rules of power, it's just natural. I connect them to my own experiences in life. For example, what did I do in my past relationship that was wrong? Or some scenarios that I could have been better. If the writer didn't have the same experience as you, he wouldn't have written it anyway. Again, by doing this, you will give the information a purpose and a meaning to stay into your brain. So by ending a book, you won't ever gonna forget about the chapters or the things that you find important for yourself. But in the end, remember that everyone's brains just work differently. So it is important for everyone to experiment with each of these tips and tricks and see what just works for you. Also, take note that it is really important to repeat the materials that you are reading periodically in order for your brain to reinforce the information and overall improves your memory. Be sure to comment down below your thoughts. Don't forget to smash that like button. It would make me a lot happy, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys in the next one.